Ghana, and we are on the point. We're on the road of probing because words have started coming in, promises have started coming in, assurances. I'm liking this word because of the Electoral Commission. Assurance, and the finance minister. So, well, assurances have started coming in as far as leading this country is concerned, and as far as politics also is concerned. And the latest one has to do with the man that is behind me, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, who launched his flag bearership bid yesterday in the Volta region, said a couple of things. And some of the things he said, of course, borders on issues that have already been raised, in the media, on various platforms, in the Constitution, and we're trying to consider to see if it's possible. But really, it's one of the ideas that Ghanaians seem to be pushing for its change and that or amendment, and that has to do with the, Ex-gratia and how we are told to do it according to the Constitution. So I'll have a couple of guests to, run the program with. This afternoon, I'm going to have Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng, who is Senior Lecturer, Deputy History and Political Science Studies, KNUST. Dr. Amma Adi Esquire, who's also a fellow at the Center for Social Justice, and also Ni Amate, also is a governance expert. He will also join us here to talk about this issue on the table now. And it's Ghana Month, just as we played the video, just to remind you that it's Ghana Month. It's sad, that sometimes we, as a country, and knowing how Nkrumah led us, we should wait for some month to be. I don't believe in things like that, to do a special celebration of Ghana Month. But maybe it's a good start, right, to remind ourselves that we come from a place, we have a common practice and belief, and we also all have to protect it so Ghana really stays as long as it can as an empire. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll set the ball rolling.
In a crisis situation like this, it is my belief that this country can be governed efficiently with 60 ministers and deputy ministers. We will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms under the Fourth Republic, which will be aimed at restoring confidence in our democracy and governance systems while making life easier and better for the people of Ghana. In response to the concerns and calls from many of you, we will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms that will restore confidence in our democracy. We'll continue and bring to conclusion the constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Atta Mills, which will include a review of the controversial Article 71 to reduce the number of office holders under Article 71 and reduce the disparities in privileges and emoluments vis-à-vis the public sector and civil service. The payment of ex-gratia to members of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. And the necessary constitutional steps to abolish that payment will start in earnest in 2025. We will also begin the process of persuading the other arms of government other than the executive to accept the removal of these ex-gratia payments. At this stage, Ghana demands experience, not experiments. Ghana demands togetherness and not divisiveness. Now is the time for bravery of heart and clarity of purpose. I'm offering myself for public office at this time because I appreciate the enormity of the task ahead, owing to the level of damage that has been done to our country by this government. And I also know that such a mountainous task requires a steady, unifying, and experienced hand to build the Ghana we want together. And as I said, this is no time for experimentation. Ghana at this time does not need a try-me-too leader. Our country at this time urgently needs a leader with an unwavering desire to get things done in a no-frills, no-thrills, business-like manner. Not one enamored with sloganeering, excessive partisanship, personal comfort, and shallow populism. Ghana's next leader should exercise sound judgment and be able to make the right calls at the right time. A leader who accepts responsibility and works to fix the problem, and not one who shifts blame onto others. The leader should be one whose heart is filled with compassion for the people and who has the humility to connect with and understand the needs of the people he serves. Our country requires a visionary leader who will build a prosperous and progressive Ghana for all Ghanaians and not just a few family and friends.
Welcome back. So those are excerpts that we will give you now. For the sake of time, we cannot play the whole delivery by His Excellency, the former president, to you. But the most important thing is that he has launched his bid to run for the flag bearership of his party, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and one of the statements he made in the Volta region has to do with, the NDC to scrap payments of the ex-gratia that has been on the table for some time now. So, quote, it says, we will continue to bring to a conclusion a constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Mills, which will include a review of controversial Article 71 to reduce the number of office holders under Article 71 and reduce the disparities in privileges and monuments vis-a-vis the public sector and the civil service. The payment of ex-gratia to members of the executives under Article 71 will be scrapped, and the necessary constitutional steps to abolish the tax payment, the payment will start in earnest 2025. So when you attend university, they teach you something called SMART objectives. And the former president seemed to be giving us, what the objective is, review Article 71 holders in terms of ex-gratia. The date has been provided, so that's measurable. So he says in earnest, 2025, so I want to believe that in the first quarter of 2025, should he win from the party to the national level, that's when we should see action. And that means that the constitutional review must have been done, right? Now, it says that President Mahama promised. He said that during his launch of the flag bearership bid on Thursday, March 2, at the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Okay, so let's come into the studio and let me speak. Welcome, Ni Ama Adi Esquire, who is a fellow at the Center for Social Justice. Thank you for joining us once again. You're welcome. Good afternoon to you. I'm expecting Ni Ama Amate, governance expert, to join us, and also Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng to also join us. So welcome again. Good afternoon to you. Okay, so just give us an overview of his whole address first to start with. Okay, your mic is on, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Considering his experience in governance, where we are now as a country and where he wants to take us to. And the venue, the choice of venue is very significant. I mean, considering that Volta region is very loyal to the NDC party, and then considering also that the University of Allied Health and Sciences was started by the late Professor Mills and then continued by His Excellency JM. And anytime we talk about the University of Allied Health and Allied Sciences, there's one very prominent professor there that we can never forget. It's called Professor Binka. He started the whole school, and it's a very great person. So our greetings to Professor Binka this afternoon, a very fantastic research person. I mean, Ebola and all this malaria research and everything, very, very, very solid professor there. Yeah, very, very solid. I mean, we said Ebola didn't do to Ghana what it did to other countries and all that, and they were the brain behind it. Professor Binka, very solid, man. So yes, the speech touched on very, very, very key areas of our economy. And if you had followed the diplomatic community last week, I think they advised our president, if you like, or made certain comments that in order for us to ask for debt reliefs and ask for help from international other countries, which they will do, we also have to show some willingness to cut down on our expenses or our expenditure as a country. I think the German ambassador made that statement. So for President JDM to have made that a statement in his campaign launch tells you that he's really in tune with what we ought to do in order to get out of our economic difficulties as a country. But again, he did not, I mean, the Article 71 scrapping of the ex-gratia for Article 71 public office holders, which the president said, did not surprise me so much because it is something that he has started. He referred to the constitutional review that Professor Mills started. But if you go back to November 2015, JM
he made a similar comment.
Set up a committee, a 5-member committee chaired by Professor Dora, what do you call it? Dora Edu Boado. Professor Dora Edu Boado chaired a 5-member committee to look into this ex-gratia issue. Because even then, in 2015, JM felt that that amount of money is a burden on the national purse. Okay, but you know, November 2015, and then the following year was election year. You know, and the report for this Professor Dora's committee came in September of 2016. And that was when election was almost, up there. The president was running around the country, and then we know what happened subsequently. He lost the election. Okay, so that the recommendation of Professor Dora's committee could not be actualized because the report came in September 2016.
So we can say that he has a skeletal.
Sure, he has a intention. The report is already there. So he wants. So you can see
a skeletal plan as to how it's going. Because I was going through we're voting in 2024, end of the year. We will. You will be sworn in early
January
2025.
Yes.
And he is saying that early. In earnest, in 2025, it will be implemented. I was wondering, okay, how is this, because we still have to go through the constitutional review before you can get
So that work has been done already. That work has been done. He commissioned it in November 2015. The report came out in September 2016. But because of election and then the subsequent losing of the election, he could not implement it. So, like they say, if a blind man says he will throw a stone at you, then probably his leg is already on the stone. So that report is there. So it's left to implementation. So what is reference to the constitutional review started by Professor Mills means that because that is a constitutional provision. That Article 71 is a constitutional provision. Therefore, you need to review the Constitution in order to do what it wants to do. But as for the report to implement it, it's already there. So it's the review that will probably be in earnest in order for the implementation to come through. But again, if you look at what he said, contrarily to what our president did in 2019, where we have seen the same Article 71, whilst JM, former President John Mahama, wanted to cancel it way back in 2015, then in 2019, we saw a review where then there was an attempt to add the first and second ladies as part of Article 71. I mean, we sat in this studio, I sat in this same position, and we said that it is not proper. Later, we heard that the first lady has asked that whatever be given to her should be cancelled and all those things. So you can see the difference in two. You can see the foresight with which JM wants to assume office and wants to fix things which it's almost crumpled, and what the present government is doing.
But you know, if you look into the details of the Article 71 holders and the beneficiaries, if what happened with the first ladies, for example, I mean, it was a bit of some bad faith there for me. I mean, the whole thing too was a bit embarrassing at some point when they had to come in and say, you know what, we don't want to be a part of it anymore. However, if we're able to review it well, if you look into the details and we're able to review it well, it wouldn't hurt adding these two ladies and even defining what they will be entitled to. It cannot be equal across board anyway, because we do not vote for first lady, neither do we vote for second ladies. So we may want to, now we have made them by the activities of Nana Akufo-Addo and Rawlings, first ladies, second ladies seem to be quite active now. They do more things than before. So we may want to consider as a nation, but not necessarily a whole package as Article 71 beneficiaries, you know, are taking.
Sure, again, it's a leadership call, so we'll see what leadership will do. But then again, for the fact that Ghanaians came strongly criticizing it because they did not see a proper definition of why they ought to be included, I think it's why the whole attempt suffered that bad faith. But if it is properly defined and Ghanaians buy into it and they see the reason for it, then why not?
So I've just opened, and I'm not sure. We always talk about it. I'm really not sure how many people know so much about the Article 71 or the details, what it captures or what it carries. So Article 71, Clause 1, it says that the salaries and allowances payable and the facilities and privileges available to A, the Speaker and Deputy Speakers and Members of Parliament, B, the Chief Justice and the other Justices of the Superior Court of Judicature, C, the Auditor General, the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Electoral Commission, and the Commissioner of Human Rights and Administrative Justice and Deputies, and the District Assembly's Common Fund Administrator. D, the chairman, vice chairman, and the members of I, the National Council of Higher Education, however described. 2, the Public Service Commission, the National Media Commission, the Lands Commission, and the National Commission for Civic Education. So being expenditure charged on the consolidated fund shall be determined by the President on the recommendations of the committee of not more than 5 persons appointed by President acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State. So 2, salaries, allowances, the salaries and allowances payable and the facilities available to the President, Vice President, Chairman, and the Ministers of State and Deputy Ministers being expenditure charged on the consolidated fund shall be determined by the Parliament on the recommendations of the committee referred to in Clause 1 of this article, and that's just, explanation to how it's dispersed. For the purposes of article, the excepts are otherwise, or as otherwise provided in this constitution, salaries includes allowances, facilities, and privileges, and retiring benefits or awards. I'm not sure, on hindsight, I'm not sure what went into Article 71.
I think they are categorized into three parts.
Capturing it, what reasoning went into it?
I think they are categorized under three parts: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, to say that the role that they play falls within these three categories. And that probably because of the nature of the role that they play, and because of the national outlook, for them to be fair in whatever they do, they need to be taken good care of, so that they're able to do their work very well.
You know why I'm saying that? Maybe years ago, I wouldn't say the same thing. But today, if I look at how, for example, the Land Commission, what good has the Land Commission done for Ghana that we see? Because we want to, like you said, we want to make them comfortable on the job, so they deliver. And so we give them these packages that are, looking juicy. So they also have to work for us. I'm sure the Lands Commission can come up with a plethora of excuses and reasons why they cannot work up to the expectation that we have.
Yes, that these laws, as we see, are made on the ideal situation that all things being equal, this is what you're supposed to do. So if they've done otherwise, other than what is expected of them, then that is the bad part of it. Mm-hmm. Okay? But then again, I'm sure they will tell you, as we've heard our Minister for Land says, that when people of influence comes to your office and say, I've identified a land here and I want it, and sometimes those people have so much influence that there's very little you can do or say no to them, then it becomes a problem. So it's a whole national problem that we ought to solve as a nation. Okay? If we don't do that, and certain individuals would have their way so much so that even if he walks here today and he says, I want this studio, and nobody can say no to that person, then it becomes a problem. So it's bigger, it turns out to be bigger than the public office holders, because the politicians are there. It goes to what they say political entrepreneurs or political financiers. They tend to waste so much influence that I made a party come to office. And therefore, if I want something, nobody can deny me of it. And I think that is what have made some officers look very bad, because they cannot say no to their master. We talk of separation of powers, etc., etc. But we all know that definitely somebody pays somebody's salary. Somebody determines your benefits. Somebody, holds you, gave you that position, and can change it tomorrow. And therefore, it makes it very difficult. I think that's why the review of the Constitution became very important. But it's very unfortunate and sad that the implementation, the recommendations that we collected all across the country, the resentment that many Ghanaians showed.
Recommendations on the Constitution?
Yes, okay. For the review of the Constitution. Right. That many Ghanaians showed many years ago, we did not implement it. And, sometimes I say that for us to have, see when it was done. Granted that Professor Amil started it, professor of law, he did not see implementation due to whatever reasons. He passed on. JM came. He passed on. And then now we have a sitting president who is a lawyer. And for almost into 7th year, nothing has been done to see what Ghanaians say they do not like. It's very sad.
So maybe we should look into it also now, the article itself. If GM, look at his promise. If he says he's going to do it, what are we expecting him to do? Since we all, not we all, because I don't think it's everybody that agrees to the amendment of this law. I'm told some of the young people who want to go to parliament is because of Article 71. I don't know about that. But, but if we look into the details of the article as read, what are we expecting him to change?
So his first emphasis was on the executive. And then so if you look at the executive, it means the president, the vice president, okay? So, I mean, they are the two main people there. So to say that they will do away with it, okay? And said that for the legislature and the judiciary, they will work towards it. So I don't think it's too much a thing that cannot be done, okay? So it makes it very easy.
Why are people questioning, what's it called? You know, we have people who are criticizing the fact that because John Mahama benefited from ex-gratia, he doesn't have the moral right to get into this debate.
I mean, they are speaking retrospectively. That is past. He's looking forward. He's looking forward. And then, I mean, like he said, definitely there ought to be a constitutional review in order for that to be in effect. Okay. So if that has not been done, and he benefited from it, I mean, you cannot blame him for it because that is what is in existence. Okay? But he is saying that he will take steps to make sure that it is cancelled. So I think we should rather credit him because you would expect that for anybody coming into office, how much opportunities, how much benefits that person stands to get is what, I mean, would maybe motivate somebody to go into that office. But for him to say that he's going to give off everything.
Even though I am a beneficiary.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily he going to give off everything because he says that we'll continue to bring to conclusion the constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Mills, which will include a review of the controversial Article 71. A review.
Yes.
It's not necessarily scrapping it off.
Yes.
But it's a review.
Yes,
it could be because there's been the argument about the judges and what they take after every 4 years when they don't go through exactly what the members of parliament also go through. There's that, debate there.
Yes.
So after every 4 years, judges take ex-gratia, which doesn't make commonsensical.
I mean, it depends on you want to look at the nature of work that they do because administering of justice, you want to ensure that is what holds our democracy. And you want to uphold the institution and make sure that everything about it's okay for them to do their work very well. So that's the ideal situation. If somebody is not doing his or her work very well, it's the other thing that
is it
then
because
you can pick that person up and punish the person for not working.
Is it because they are judges?
It's because of the nature of their work. And
what is the nature of their work?
It's to administer justice.
To ensure peace in the country.
That's the thing. Because, I mean, that institution is so, as it is, to make sure that, because at the end of the day, when you and I quarrel, we will end up in the court. And if we cannot be confident about the court, then it means that I'll take the law into my own hands. And we don't want things to get to that. So I support the fact that they must be made comfortable.
Because you're a lawyer.
But I support the fact that they must be made comfortable to do their work. If for any reason, any of them is not doing their work very well, and we have a justifiable reason to say that he or she is not doing his work very well, then we can punish the person for not doing the work well. But we should not generalize it because, there are very fine judges out there. Anybody who have had experience with the court, they are very fine judges, and there are those that you can also point fingers and say that, as for this one, I have a little doubt. Okay, so if we want to use those who are not doing their work well to punish those who are doing their work very well, then that will not be fair.
No, not necessarily, because I'm not even friends with any judge or not friends with some judge that I'm going to say, well, this one, I think he doesn't deserve it. No, it's really not about the person. It's just the office that we're looking at how viable that is. So if a country, after every 4 years, is giving judges ex-gratia, they're all entitled to ex-gratia after every 4 years. I'm not so sure what's practiced elsewhere for the judges, in terms of end of service benefits. So maybe we may later have to look into that and then do the comparison. But I think I have Ni Amate via Zoom, governance expert. Oh, no, not him. Okay, so Dr. Amache, Kwesi Amache Boating. Is he the one I have on? Hello. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc Amache. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And can you hear me?
Okay, your video is not stable at all. Let's see if we can. Kindly unmute.
Oh my God.
Okay, kindly unmute. Unmute your mic
I
so
have
that I can
done
hear
that,
you.
and I expect to be heard.
Okay, so let's see if we can hear Dr. Bokwache. Doc, so we were discussing the issue of Article 71 holders and what John Mahama has said that when he comes into office, he's going to review it and see how we can cut, costs in terms of that, provision in the Constitution. What do you make of what he intends to do in terms of this article?
I like to believe that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now.
If that is the case, that's good. That being, this whole issue with the ex-gratia borders on governance, an aspect that relates to the use of our major resource, our cash. And then it should be pitched against Ghana's capacity to generate wealth. So we go back to the basic principle, the need for the country to cut its coat according to its size. Can we afford, to continue with the current arrangement? Does it really support the state financially? Does it support the state economically? Besides that, what about other, people who are not necessarily Article 71 holders, who also serve equally well in other capacities? So realize that there's an issue with that particular provision in our constitution. So that anyone who want to review it definitely will be touching on, some nerve, all right, because politics, among other factors, is driven by interest. So those who are currently enjoying it, they obviously will not be clapping for President Mahama. And I'm wondering whether he considered challenges from his own party, before coming out with this.
I earlier on thought it was a populist promise.
This cannot be a populist promise. I mean, this cannot be a populist promise. It's a key thing that has to be done to save Ghana. Ghana's financial position does not permit Ghana to operate with such an understanding. Ghana is simply not in a capacity to do that. So Ghana cannot afford it. This is not populist at all. It's a critical thing that has got to be done, but you need, a strong person committed to a real, genuine Ghanaian cause to be able to stick his neck out, to stick her neck out, to address this. So, like I just said, populism will necessarily play to the gallery beyond his party. But this is an issue that people in his own party who are beneficiaries are not going to clap for him. And one thing baffles me, why he didn't wait for his party to endorse him before coming out with this, because he stands a chance of not being endorsed. Yet he decided to go public with it. So to me, it is one of the critical things to look at if you want to address Ghana's economic challenges. It is one of the critical things to look at. It is not populist at all. It's a must-do thing.
Okay, what you just said in terms of the timing of coming out with it, is it something that you think was misplaced?
It's not necessarily misplaced, but then, if he had wanted to be mischievous and not to lay his cards, out right from the very word go. Then he would have waited to go through the party's nomination, or not nomination per se, his party's election of the flag bearer before coming out with it. If anything at all, he would have crossed one bridge. He didn't do that, meaning that he's himself so committed to this issue that he's prepared to lose the elections, to lose this opportunity to lead Ghana again. He is ready to forego that, and pursue a cause that will serve Ghana's public good. To me, it's an indication of sincerity. It's an indication of commitment. It's an indication of readiness to hold the bull by the horn.
Oh, okay.
and help address Ghana's challenges.
Okay, I get what you're going to. I was thinking if you didn't support the fact that he actually, voiced it out, but I get the point you're making. So he is risking losing the election if this is going to cause a lot of, discontent in the political environment and can cause his possibility of winning again as president.
I think the danger lies in his own party. When he comes out and is able to articulate this very well, and also to get Ghanaians to believe that he's not just playing to the gallery, he's not just using this as a populist card to win elections, then he stands the chance of winning a lot of following from the general Ghanaian society. To me, the danger comes from his own NDC. Politics, my dear, is necessary. Really driven. And that this thing, someone called it. Sorry for that. I'm using my phone to engage you.
Right.
To the extent that this thing is standing, the danger to me comes from his own party, and not necessarily from the a bigger Ghanaian society.
So you have sensed that this is sincere, considering the time that he's even decided to speak about it. And if it's received, on the wrong footing, what exactly do you think he should do? You have stated that if he, communicates and explains himself better, maybe it will sit well. How do you think he should package it going forward so that he can still go ahead to win the bid as a flag bearer and eventually as president?
I think in his party, he will want to explain to the rank and file of the party the rationale behind this. Currently, the MPP is feverishly, engaged in a propaganda, thing with the breaking of the eight. There wouldn't have been the need for anyone to chant this chorus if Nana Addo had really prosecuted his agenda very well. He came out with critical policies, but for some reason that we don't know, couldn't prosecute it. You hardly find any of the things he said he was going to do as having been done, creditably. So then this should understand that as a political party, they will want to hold on to political power for as long as possible, and that this is one of the ways to achieve that. That the party should align its interest with that of the state. So I think within the party, he should be able to let the party know that, yes, it might not be in the interest of some people, individuals in the party who are members of parliament, but then it will be in the interest of the overall party interest. The party will want to hold on to political power for as long as possible. The MPP wish they will break the eight, and they will want to do everything possible. But I'm wondering whether it is going to work out. So the NDC can see itself in a similar light, and then understand, what is in this need to review this Article 71 thing.
How do you think the review, what twist do you think it would take that seems as though the dropping of his idea is likely to ruffle some feathers? How do you think this review of the article itself would look like?
I've not given myself, any significant thought about how it should look like. But then, as it is, all of us also working, to support the Ghanaian state, a feedback that some people at, regular intervals, 4-year intervals, are rewarded so well by the Ghanaian state, and the rest of us don't receive any such reward. So obviously we want to see something that will have elements of equity in it. Yes, we want to respect our people who are serving the state at some critical positions, but at the same time, there should be equity. Those of us down there should also get our fair share. We're looking for a fair distribution of the public, the public cake. So at least I expect some such elements of equity to manifest in the review package.
Maybe today Ghana finds itself in a tight corner, which is why we are now beginning to see the angles where Ghana is really spending a lot and raising questions about those areas. It wouldn't have been the same on hindsight, right?
Some people have raised these issues long ago, only that it has not received such a public support as it is being received now. You go into the literature, this issue has been addressed long ago. I recall that there are some publications on this in the 80s, in the 90s. Academics, intellectuals have looked at this and then they saw that it is problematic and ought to be reviewed.
Right. Doc, hold on. Let me come to lawyer. You said you were responding to something that has to do with his.
No, it's just slightly when
The timing of.
the president should have.
It's fair because as a political person and considering benefits, it's quite a sensitive issue, especially when we are even at a point where people are now more tighter in their pockets. They are not really getting what they think they deserve. So when you begin such conversations, then you have to watch it.
No, I think that it's going for a contest. There are 4 in the race.
Okay, kindly hold on. There's a technical problem. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'll allow you to. Okay. We'll be back shortly. Going to wrap up shortly, but well, let me come back to you. So he, with the point that the doctor is saying or is making, the payment of the ex-gratia members of articles of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. He actually made that specific.
Yes, that's it. So that's what I'm saying, that there are 4 going to the election. It's a race. And therefore, he needs to sell his message to his party people to see that he's not only looking within the party, but it's looking at the country as a whole. So I do not think that he had said it too early. In fact, it's the right thing to say, okay, at this time, because it's looking beyond the supposed benefits that people think they will come into office to get. He's telling them now that, look, our country is at the economic crossroad. And therefore, when I assume office, these are some of the things that I'm going to do in order for us to get to where we need to get to economically. So I think it's timely and it's very good to have to say.
Other people will see it differently, though. I'm not so sure how. But
I thought of that at the first instance
because
when I heard
those who had to give you the bid to become the flag bearer are at that level,
Yes, but we want to look at those
judges.
Yeah, we want to look at those who constitute the executive, as he said, and those are people within his control. So the first 4 would have been the president, the vice, the speaker, and then the chief justice. Okay. Then if you want to maybe bring in those who forms the cabinet and all those things, they are all things within the control of the president, and it's not too much. That's why I said they will work further to look at the legislature and then the judiciary. Okay, so I think it's okay at this level, because we ought to be seen now to have a solution to solve the economic problems of the country. And that's why I started by saying that that's what the international community called for. That if our president is asking for debt relief, etc., then he must be seen to be cutting down on the expenditure of his government. So if the 1 year to come, and you say that, oh, let me come to office and get all the benefits, everything that is there, and he's saying that I'll cut it off, giving himself as an example, because he's the first.
You're likely to even get the backing of the international community.
That is it. He's the first, he's the number one of the executive. So if he puts his on the line, then it's a good example, as they say, leadership by example, to show that, yes, if I'm willing and able to do it, then definitely those following should also be able to do the same. So I think it's timely and it's good.
Doc, let me wrap up with you. So I think, is he gone off? Okay, if he's gone, then Doc, I think your final words are, my time is up, so I cannot go into the Zoom again, right?
Okay, so, so all said, he's set off with a campaign, and it looks very interesting and exciting because, as a country, that's what we've set ourselves to follow these democratic principles or follow these democratic steps to electing our president. And so, we'll see what alternative plans the other contestants have, and I'm sure that the party faithfuls, even though you would say that, again, in the words of John Mahama, it is experience and not experiment. Okay? And for me, if I look at the other contestants, to say that they've all served under him, okay, Kojobonso, Dr. Dufour, and the fourth one, whose name is not so popular. Yes, so definitely you can say that he stands tall among them. Haven't done it before. He has he has the things to show. He has things to point to. Okay? Today, today our government talks so much about digitization, but we forget that in year 2000, when we were moving into Y2K, when the whole world is shaking, JM was the Minister for Communication at the time, and he led the Y2K thing. So if you talk about digitization, he's there. Right. And I've been the economic management, leader of the economic management team under President Mills. That saw the best economic times that we had in the country was there. Right. So I think that he has it all.
Right. So the line you look out for, those of you who want to come to Parliament fresh, he said that the payment of the ex-gratia to members of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. And the necessary constitutional steps to abolish the payment will start earnest in 2025. I'm sorry about those of you who are not coming to Parliament. You won't enjoy it under his tenure. But that's what we have for you this afternoon on Good Afternoon Ghana. I actually had Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng, senior lecturer at the Department of History and Political Studies, KNUST, and also Niyama Adi, Esquire fellow at the Center for Social Justice, who also joined me. I couldn't have Ni Amate, governance expert, join us. Another time maybe he will. My name is Annie Afampo. Thanks for watching.